the NFC North, shall we? Very
I'm in
docile.
NFC Northland right now. I'm up near Birchwood, Wisconsin at my cabin, Chris. This is Packer country.
And it looks beautiful outside.
I say some shit about the Packers right now. There might be some dudes in blaze orange pop out of the woods and fuck me up.
Well, tell us about the Packers this year. What do you think about the Packers, Beau?
I think the Packers have an electric quarterback who just got a hard reset after taking some ayahuasca this offseason. But I mean, I think everyone knows Davante Adams is gone. How do you replace that production? Christian Watson, who was a second-round pick. Let's see what's up with him. I mean, you never really know what you're going to get with a rookie. They have a pretty good run game. I'm concerned about their O-line from an offensive standpoint. Bakhtiari, I think they just reactivated him, but I know he was a little banged up last year, but that's a premier guy when he's healthy. I guess the bottom line is I think that their offense is run through their quarterback, who's really fucking good. And I think they're going to be okay, but there might be a little bit of growing pains. So
yeah, and you heard him talk about Romeo Doubs and like talking about drops and that sort of thing. And I'm okay with him pushing that kid. He's earned the right to do that, obviously. He supposedly Dobbs is turning some heads too. And, you know, like remember last year, Jamar Chase couldn't catch the ball in training camp. So like, it's just more unknown. The unknown's scary. They have invested in a little bit. Unlike some years in the past, but the unknown is scary. I think they should go out and try to get Mike Gesicki. Call me crazy, and maybe I'm missing something, but you know, a bunch of people are listening to me like, well, they have Robert Tonyan, and Bob Tunion's a blocker, and he's a tight end. Like he's a receiving tight end, but he can block, and he's like a real inline tight end. Not like maybe like yesterday's inline tight ends, but relative to Mike Gesicki is. Mike Gesicki is not a fucking tight end. He doesn't have to be. Just split him out wherever you want. And put that big target out there with Rodgers in the red zone. You get him, you get Randall Cobb, you know, his favorite guy. There's more than you think, but it ain't much. And I kind of wonder if altogether, when you take the offensive line into account, like how long it's been since Rodgers had played with a worse group. You mentioned Bakhtiari getting back, Elton Jenkins, you know, at right tackle, I believe, off an ACL. With this offensive line, man, in the NFC Championship 2 years ago, the Bucs got after him. I think it was 5 sacks. And then they ran into a wall against San Francisco at home. And San Francisco at home, they had to start, you know, 2 tackles. They had to start Rick Wagner at right tackle. They had to start Turner at left tackle when Jenkins was out with the ACL. So the offensive line has been an issue for them in the past.
Chris, if I may, I think with a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, like, sometimes, like a little bit like what we were talking about with Tom Brady earlier, you can hide some deficiencies in the offensive line by just, you know, getting your offense into the best play at the line of scrimmage or just knowing what the fuck the defense is in and getting the ball out fast. I think a bigger concern is like just Packers becoming really one-dimensional offensively, like not able to run the ball. They have pretty good backs, honestly. So you almost wish that they'd have a little better offensive line so that they could commit to their run game a little bit more. I think that's more my concern down the stretch, you know, because they play outside in cold weather and shit like that. Like if you can have a run game that's effective, it really helps your team, especially like burn clock when you're up, shit like that. So I think that's kind of where my head goes with the Packers O-line. But I mean, we'll see, man. You can make up for a lot of shit by having a really, really good quarterback.
You can, and you can make up for a lack of, you know, overall skill in the run game by getting the ball on the perimeter with the quick game. Like Hackett was so good at creating run game with Davante Adams. Like, who's going to pick up that slack? It's impossible to do, but who's going to be the guy that does the dirty work, the pass game that really, you know, amplifies the run game, or, you know, you layer it on top of the run game? Like, that's a big question for me. Yeah. And defensively, though, I mean, I like him. I do.
You mentioned Kenny Clark, man. That dude's a fucking baller. He's good. He's long. I think he's only like 25, maybe. I mean, I have to look it up. But, like, he is one of the really good, and, you know, he's a nose guard, but he is, in my opinion, like a Chris Jones level of interior defender. Like, he can do a lot of different things, and I think he's really good. I also think Dean Lowry is, you know, a nice.
You had to get that in there.
Yeah, he doesn't get enough love. You gotta give him some love.
Yeah.
And then Rashawn Gary, I think, is kind of ready. I think he's on the cusp of a big year rushing off the edge. They lost
Zadarius Smith. Yeah, he's over on the other end of the division, and that's going to be important when we talk about the Vikings. But like Quay Walker and Campbell at linebacker has a chance to be a really fun, really good unit. Obviously, the secondary is exciting and that sort of thing, but you know, their defense, you mentioned Rashawn Gary, who took a big step ahead last year and did it in the playoffs too, which was fun to watch. I know what it's like as a rusher to be a high pick and kind of like it takes time. So like this kid is coming into his own. I'm excited to watch him play. And Rich Bisaccia, who became a really big figure in the NFL last year to, the average fan, as the interim head coach in Vegas. He was loved. Seems like a great guy, but a really good special teams coach. And Mason Crosby, the longtime kicker there, he's got to have a bounce back year. They had issues. Remember the Cincinnati game? Their special teams has been kind of like an Achilles heel for them. They're going to be better with Bisaccia. So they're going to improve in some areas. And then in some areas, you're right. It's just all about Aaron and how many warts he can cover, dude. But as you said, he got the reset. I want to take a second to just say this. I appreciate Mercedes Lewis. He needs a Lifetime Achievement Award, man. This motherfucker's been in the league 20 years blocking these shit out of people.
But he's not doing the sexy stuff either, which is impressive. Like, he's down in the muck, man.
Yeah, and he knows karate, the whole thing, dude. Like, this guy, he's just a man's man. He's a karate fucking practicing blocking tight end. He's a dinosaur. He's like a Komodo dragon, dude.
Got those fucking grippers, though.
But what I mean by that is everybody else is extinct. He's like one of the few left. Minnesota. I mentioned, I think it was the Saints challenging the Bucks. Like the Vikings might be able to challenge the Packers even more so. And I thought there was a time like a year ago where I was like, they're going to rebuild next year. Like, I don't even know why you roll the ball out there, but they seem to really like the new coach. The vibe supposedly is high. O'Connell from LA, another like kind of Sean McVay branch of the tree, except this one's tall. People really like him, and he's inheriting a group where there's some positives here. Like, Kirk Cousins has been a pretty good quarterback in the NFL. He's polarizing, but he's been a pretty good quarterback in the NFL. He has to be better in December, but O'Connell...
I've actually been defending Cousins to my buddies in Minnesota. I grew up in Minnesota. All my friends from Minnesota are Vikings fans. It's so fucking annoying. One of my buddies in the group chat will not shut up about how bad Kirk Cousins is, and I've been defending him for real because he's been good.
He has. It's just he
hasn't maybe been worth that contract, but like, you don't know how bad it can get with some of these quarterbacks.
His approval rating is too low. Okay, I'll admit that. He worked with this head coach in Washington, so there's a lot. The run game, obviously, Dalvin Cook. They have always given Green Bay fits. Like, look it up. Go look at the Green Bay Minnesota series over the past couple of years. As a gambler, it's been tough to call, dude. And if you're sharp, you'll make money off the Vikings there. But like, I think they're gonna challenge Green Bay. I really do. I'm not saying they're gonna win the division, but they'll hang in there. And they got some secondary questions. They've added some pieces. They grabbed that kid, the safety from Georgia, Scene, who, like, if you watch that national championship, you watch the playoff, you were like, God damn, this guy is he's like a missile. Andrew Booth at corner. So they've added some guys in the secondary.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking it up because, like, obviously Zimmer is a big defensive guy and he's out, and they were 4-3 and with those double A-gap blitzes that fucking Zim love. And I was like, who the fuck is the D coordinator? Because I know they have some players. So it's Donatelli, right? Who's been around, and they're going to run a base 3-4, which once I started looking at their personnel, I actually got kind of excited about, because they got Tomlinson, who was in New York for a while, and that's a big fucker. He's good. He's good on the side. He's going to play some nose guard. Harrison Phillips is a guy they got from Buffalo. I think he'll do well in that 2-gap scheme. We'll see. They were a 4-3 in Buffalo, but I think they ran a 3-4 like that when he was at Stanford. Always got to keep an eye on my white interior defensive linemen. So
yeah, they always find a way into these breakdowns.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. I don't get it. Daniil Hunter's really long, good edge rusher, and when
he's healthy, he's as good as just about anybody.
He's young. He can get after. He's got a nice get off. And then Zadarius Smith on the other side. And then shout out to Jordan Hicks, who I play with in Philly, who's just a fucking great guy, solid guy. Before I did a little bit of research, I was kind of out on the Vikings defense, but now I think they've got some pieces to really get excited about, especially in their front seven. So I think, I don't know, sneaky good, maybe.
Well, think about the way their strengths match up with Green Bay's weakness offensively, right? Yeah. So you're worried about their secondary. We'll see how these young guys shake out. Well, Green Bay's not that great outside. Okay, like Green Bay's worried about the O-line.
We'll see. I mean, I don't think we mentioned Sammy Watkins in Green Bay, though. Like, he was Aaron Rodgers recently. I mean, maybe he'll have a big year, but
he doesn't really. He's not
really spooky.
He's not moving the needle for me. But if you look at their, if Green Bay's offensive line's a concern, look at Big Z. Look at Look at Hunter. Look at all these guys, man. Like, this is going to be a battle. And we haven't even mentioned Detroit. Like, the NFC North is low-key a tough division, man. That might be the best division, the second best division. I mean, Chicago brings the average way down. But, you know, it might go NFC West, NFC North. I mean, if you look at Detroit, and maybe this is the Hard Knocks effect, and maybe it's the Dan Campbell effect, but I watched them a lot last year. They hung in there. They almost beat really good teams. They beat really good teams. Well, I don't know if you would qualify the Cardinals as a really good team, but they beat the brakes off them late in the year. The Rams, they damn near. Jared Goff, I wanted him to win that game so bad, man. Jared Goff, he took a lot of shit in L.A., and I like him, and I think his teammates like him. And I know maybe he's not the answer, but this team's going to have a high rating of like vibes. Like, the vibes are going to be good on this team. They're going to want to play for each other, you know, and they want to play for Dan. And the O-line is a strength. There's a bunch of first-rounders on there. There's our buddy Big V, who came from Philly, who they signed to a big deal. Ragnow. And they have really good, Ragnow is one of the best setters in the league. And then you've got really good running backs. So they got some weapons outside. So I don't know, man. The defense is a big question mark to me. They got my guy Rodrigo there running with the 6th round pick, that sort of thing. I don't want to short the defense on time. I want to see Aiden Hutchinson flourish and all that. But they got NFL coaches, man. They got NFL playing coaches, man. They got guys who have been there. They know what the stresses of rebuilding are like. They know what it's like to make an ME. They know what it's like to have a growing pain. So I'm excited about this group, and I think in crisis they're going to be as good as anybody. If this team hits a rough patch, these coaches can handle it.
I wasn't expecting to, kind of root for the Lions just because it's the fucking Detroit Lions, But after watching some of this Hard Knocks, I'm in on Dan Campbell, and I wish him success. And it's been fun to get to know some of these guys. Deuce, we love, fucking great coach, great guy. And I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is I want them to do well, and I hope they do. And I don't fucking know.
Me neither, dude. That's a great synopsis. You're like, I just want him to play well, but I don't know. The Chicago Bears. So we're forgetting him so much that, look at, Beau has stood up and exited the frame of the Zoom because the Bears are so bad that Mike Martz said they're going to be the worst offense since the Detroit Lions. And that's how much I believe in Justin Fields, that I am saying into an empty Zoom screen, I'm talking to a fucking lake in Wisconsin. Hang in there, Justin Fields. I believe in you. Beau's back. I believe in Justin Fields. I don't care how bad Mike Martz says it is. Mooney's catching strays. Mooney's like, I'm a fucking player, man.
I heard you were talking about the Bears. I was like, let me get the fuck out of the frame for a little bit.
But honestly, man, I hate this for Justin Fields. And I hope that I can keep talking to the lake about Justin Fields, but I just hope that Justin Fields is okay, man. That's my Bears breakdown, okay? I hope Justin Fields is okay. I agree. They might be one of the most untalented teams in the league. It's going to be a long year there. Listen to the full podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other podcast streaming platforms. Wherever you want to get the podcast, you can get the podcast. Pretty simple. New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Podcasts get pretty wild. This is real tame.